Well, let's see what's going on here. Hello, everybody. If you're watching this as a rerun, you can skip ahead about 17 minutes. Just getting on early. See, making sure everything's connecting. Plus, I'm bored. So, welcome to live chat. Moderation helps everybody feel safe. Oh, isn't that nice? Good morning, Waylon. Let's see. It's time for Ivermectin Sand Saturday. Morning, Josh. Know what's going on. I haven't been able to sleep worth a darn. 2:30 every morning. I'm up. I'm like up. Not like gotta take a pee or anything, old age setting in type up. I mean like it's time to get the day started type thing. And I don't know why that's happening. So yeah. So I've been up a while. For some reason, I can fall asleep during the team roping of the NFR like a baby, though. Holy moly. I don't know why that is. Crash out pretty hard. Cheers to you, Saturdays. I wonder where all the naysayers are that said 4 years ago when I started taking ivermectin that I was going to die. Eventually I will, but I ain't dying from that. And now I seen some things coming out on social media about something with ivermectin here now. So who knows? Who knows? What else is going on in your world here? Morning, Wayne. That's not the full moon. This has been going on for a month and a half. I don't know what the heck it is. It's like, I think I'm still in my summer mode. You know, I mean, the sun rises here about 7 o'clock or so. So I start feeding right around, say 7:30. And takes me a couple, 3 hours to feed / hunt. I had a nice bull spotted yesterday with a whole bunch of cows, but the wind was terribly in the wrong position for me to do anything. And so hopefully today. But then by 4 o'clock, it's dark again. Whereas in the summertime, I was, from 4:30 going until, sunset, 9:30 or something like that. I think that's what's screwing me up here is I'm still in my summer sleep mode. Dan Brown, morning. Dan Brown. Let's see here. I have January 11th for the Belfield Sportsman's Club. Big fundraiser. So if you're around, there you go, Dan. Come up there and come over and have a little fun with me. Rain Coyote Calling Contest, January 3rd. Tonight, I'm in Dickinson for the Yule Ball, Yule Bell, Yule something? What is it here? Morning, Dave. It is the Neon Lights in Nashville. Yule Time 2024 per the DSU Heritage Foundation at the BAC, Bijou Activity Center. What is that tonight? 5 o'clock Mountain Time. Dress in your best downtown Nashville attire. So girls, just come as a bridal party. What do they call that? Why is it losing my mind? Why is it the simplest things bachelorette party. Just show up like that. I'll be doing the auction. And there you go. So I'm in, there I am. It is that season for benefits. Talked to Dave Erlocker yesterday. Don't forget to give him a call when you have a watch party. Yeah, I got to line that up in Amadon. I got to make sure that thumb drive works in their TVs, and they can broadcast it to a few of them. So, yeah. I don't know why are they doing the Yuletime DSU Foundation on the final night of the NFR. Haley, what's up with that? That doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I'll give Dave a call. Actually, talked to him the was it night 1 or night 2 of the NFR. I called him up. I says because Jay Berg and I were having discussions. We're like, wonder how many saddles he has in there this year, and he has 10 of the 15. But he feels that out of those other 5, they all own one of his saddles still and might be using them. He said he couldn't really tell, but he has at least 10 of the 15 in the NFR finals right now. Isn't that cool? Have somebody of that caliber just pick up his phone and be like, yeah, just talk to us and have a good time. So good stuff. Good stuff. We live in a good area. Oh, what the hell? 654? 655. Oh, man. So that means I gotta feed and try to get on that elk today and get back in the house by, and if I get it, I got to get it clean and quartered and hanging by 2:00. Give me an hour to get pretty. 4:30. I could swing it to 2:30, 3:00 if I had to. I looked at the date of the Bismarck party. Are you going to that one, Jesse? You going to? Isn't it Wayne? Isn't that tonight? Isn't your watch party tonight? I thought. Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Watch party. It's next Tuesday, December 17th for the Ranch America watch party. Okay. 40 steak and seafood. I see. All right. I see. Next Tuesday, the 17th, I got my consolidated board meeting. Might be in Bismarck. Yes, sir. I've seen elk. The elk have moved into my winter feeding grounds area. I have a big group this way with one bull, a lot of cows, one bull, some raghorns and what have you. North of me, there's a small group of raghorns. The group that there's like a group of 20 bulls that has kind of been over east here, and I'm having a hard time finding those again. We got on him. I got my neighbor Davey Junton on one. He took a shot, and just bull after bull came running out of that group of trees. It was crazy. It's a fun hunt, but I have yet to find that group yet. But I've been watching. But this other one has one bull in it that, from a mile or two away, when you look at binocular, you can see him. So he's got to have some decent size to him. Why he's still hanging out with the cows, I don't know. All the other bulls kind of went off on their own right now. So, but yeah, every day I see. It's funny. Excuse me. So it's kind of funny when I feed my cows, I honk my horn when I go down. And if anybody's been here, my feed grounds are down in bottom of some deep stuff. And as I'm going down, I'm in a glass of the hills and the ridges and everything. But as I go down, I honk my horn, and the cows know when they hear that, they get fed. So as I'm honking the horn, you got cows coming from Cedar Canyon and this and this and this and this, and they're coming and finding me. and you'll see 0 elk on that ridge line on the way down. I go down honking, unroll a couple bales, and head back up to the couple more. And when I head back up and I look at the same ridge, here come the elk, because they come and clean up whatever the cows don't. And they know when it's feeding time. That's when they come up. So it's kind of fun. So I got this group over here. As long as nobody drives through them or anything and chases them into the back canyons, I should have a chance. So if I say that, but you know how hard it is to get on that one bull elk when there's 70 cow elk watching? That's a lot of pair of eyes right there. So yeah, I've been seeing them every day. I've been going after something, but yesterday I had an idea and the wind was just in the wrong position. I could have got easy 200 yards from them, and the southeast wind was not conducive to what I needed to sneak up on them. So, and I couldn't come in the other way. So anyway, that's how it goes. But yeah, I've been seeing a few. All right, stations, 7 o'clock coming up on the nose here in about 25 seconds. See, I thought Wayne was going to have the party at his house because he was the first one to start that whole development and build houses in that part of Mandan there. All right, station 7 o'clock on the nose, 8 o'clock Central Time, which all but one station is that on Mark. Speaking of Mark, I better call him. Better call the guy. There it is. It is dark in here for some. Jeez.
Morning, Scott.
Good morning, Mr. Schriefer.
How are you this morning?
Just Smurfy. How are you?
Well, we had our Red Angus meeting last night, and with Riley being gone, I've been getting up before breakfast and doing things in the dark. So
yeah, well, I appreciate you taking time today for me.
Hey, came home to a water problem last night, and I checked it this morning, and it's flowing fine. Good. So we're good to go.
I'm so lucky to have that artesian well in my winter pasture. It's just amazing what that 56 degrees in the summertime and 56 in the wintertime. And
yeah,
it's really nice. But if you don't clean, so now that I'm feeding the cows, if you don't clean the overflow out, that overflow will freeze up. So every day I got to go clean out their wads and they have their mouth out of that thing. So
yeah, no, we actually have 2 springs where we winter our bred heifers closer to Golden Valley, and 50-degree water, day in, day out.
Yeah, I got to get my bulls moved over to their winter pasture here one of these days, and I got to get over about 1 mile of fence I have not gone over yet. And
did you see that little gadget that I found online? And Riley actually picked one up in Washburn, that freeze miser.
So I've been seeing them advertised on social media all over the place, but I've never used one of them.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say my history of using executive decisions since we formed the LLC hasn't been real great. And, I mounted that thing on a summer tank, and then I just slapped a wooden cover on this rubber tire tank and put that freeze miser on there. And yesterday was the first time it ever gave us any problems.
Okay.
But, it's one of those things. The wind was just right. But I got it thawed out, best $40 we ever spent. We've extended our winter grazing on some, tracts of land that we never were able to winter graze, and it's just working out really good.
Good. Yeah, I've seen those, but you have to have an overflow of some sort with those, right?
Yeah, in our case, we've got enough cattle drinking from it because basically our whole cow herd is drinking from it. and then our float is set a little lower.
Okay.
So by the time morning comes around and they come for water in the morning, after, their slumber, one day last week, I had a little bit of ice in front of the tank and half a bucket of sand, and I took care of that problem.
Okay.
But yeah, best case scenario, overflow that's going away from the drinking hole.
You're right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, neighbor of mine, he does trenching, and well, he did. He says he retired, but doesn't seem like he's retired. But anyway, he makes these things called thermal floats.
Yeah.
And you have to have an overflow, same thing. But I do those, and our bull pasture never freezes up in that tank, and
Yeah.
it just kind of squirts out water right toward your float and toward your overflow continuously, and you
Okay.
can set it, and it has a little Freon coil on it, and you can set it to turn on in certain temperatures. And so,
yeah.
I mean, it's crazy cool how I don't know where he came up with this design, but he's the only person I've ever seen have one of these. And then I put those thermal sinks in from CHS, and during calving season, I use them. I love those things. Absolutely the best thing I've done during that time. Now, the harsher winter,
Now,
I don't
you got
know.
to knock the ice out every morning too, though, right?
The cows, it's actually such a thin little piece. If they push their nose in there just a little bit, it tips it up and they can drink, and it just starts dissolving right there.
Yeah.
So,
I know Cassie and Bill put in one of those watering posts.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And they got it for their 3 horses. And I kind of looked at it thinking, man, you got to train these horses. I mean, and there's actually a little plastic piece that trains them. But boy, those horses pick that up like right now. So,
yeah. All right, stand by. We're 30 seconds from showtime here. So stand by. Mark here, KOLY. Good morning. Karen's not there. Oh my God, that's the first time in a long time. Did you give her a day off or what here? We got, we'll be starting here in 20 seconds on Mark. That way it gives you the leg time there. We'll be starting shortly. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition. Heard all across the Dakota Territory on great radio stations like KGFX out of Pierce, South Dakota, KOLY in Mobridge, K-Fire 550. Welcome back after the Open Your Heart campaign last weekend. Glad to have you back here in Bismarck, Mandan. KCJB 910 in Minot and in the Western Edge 1460 KLTC. Good to have you along here this morning. Scott Bachmeyer with you as we get into another discussion on hunting, farming, ranching, and all that goes together in the conservation side of things. Mark Schrieffer from Schrieffer Red Angus is my guest here today. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Scott. How's everything down in the southwest corner this morning?
Well, the corner is... Well, we've had a lot of wind yesterday, so today I'm hoping it's not as windy because I still have my elk tag to fill. And yesterday, I got within about 3/4 of a mile, and I could already see the wind was in my wrong direction. The east wind killed me yesterday on that southeast wind. So, but yeah, I've been getting closer and closer. But we got a couple weeks left here. We got about 3 weeks left, so I should be able to put something together.
And when does that season actually close?
I believe for me, it closes January 5th, somewhere in there, either the 1st or the 5th there. So it's a long season. When you look at it, elk season in the North Dakota side starts September and it goes all the way. So, I mean, it's a long season. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. And, well, sounds like the weather will be in your favor, and hopefully you get some elk, and hopefully we get some elk jerky next spring to sample.
Elk jerky. You want me to go that way with it, huh? I see. I see. I'm looking at my unit here. It is January 5th it closes here, so I got until the 5th of January.
Well, I would tell you elk burger, but my son-in-law lives, between Bozeman and Butte, Montana. So he can just go buy a counter tag
Yeah.
and yeah, I juggled around some meat for my daughter in her freezers out there and saw that they have plenty of elk burger left over
Yeah.
for me to consume. So,
Well, the thing is,
but I like elk.
if I do too, but if you're getting like if you go after one of the big bulls, and they're going to be tough eating.
Yeah.
So there's going to be certain parts of them that you can make some stuff out of, but overall, they can get pretty tough. So a burger is probably the best choice. So my wife says she just wants to take one of the lead cows that have been knocking fence down. And I'm like, okay, I think that'll taste better because they've been taking a lot of my mineral, and they found out where the feed grounds are now, Mark. So
Oh.
every morning, my cows, they get their first pickings, and then I think the elk come through and take care of it, a little bit of it too.
Well, yeah, it's kind of funny how wildlife figure that out, don't they?
They do.
And
and I was telling this before I got on the air. I was telling this on my YouTube channel. Excuse me, I'm still working against a little throat stuff here. So what I do when I feed cows in the morning is when I'm crawling down, and I don't know if you've been there, but I feed down in the bottom of some deep stuff.
yeah.
And as I'm driving down, I honk my horn. And every time, when I honk the horn, the cows are like, okay, the feed bell's coming, right? And when I drive down, I glass the ridges and everything. There's no elk. I go down honking the horn, I feed. I come back up for a couple more bales, and the elk are on top of the ridge. They know when they hear that horn, they also know that it's time for some feed. So it's amazing how that happens once in a while. You'd think they'd get scared and run off when you're honking a horn, but they know what's going on.
It's not even your large game. I mean, like we've got you've got a pet fox when your grandkids name it. She actually. It's kind of funny. She was stealing the cushions off of Riley and Cheyenne's patio furniture, trying to drag them to her den last spring, and they caught it on a trail cam. And anyway, she's around in the hay fence, and it's like, with me getting up early in the morning trying to run to Bismarck for the last 2 days for different things. She sits on the bales and just watches me, load the feed wagon, and I'm kind of guessing if there's a mouse or something that runs out from underneath a bale, that mouse's lifetime is rather short after that.
So what did you name the fox?
Oh, we call her Foxy Roxy, and I don't even know what the kids call her. I mean, we said, well, there's Foxy Roxy, and little Addie goes, no, that's whatever, so, I guess it escapes me because I guess I haven't heard them call it, but I know they got a name for her.
So it seems to me, people that run feed wagons usually run across, and fox, it seems a lot of people don't want the fox shot anymore. It seems most people, they'll say, Scott, you can coyote hunt all you want, but if you see a fox, let it go. Is that the same in your neck of the woods?
Yes and no. I think it's kind of like basically how the whitetail population is now. For a while there, you did not see a fox at all. And now, I mean, just within 2 miles of our yard, we had 3 dens.
Wow.
And I honestly don't know where those pups all went, because all I see now is this one female, that's always been around. I think it's the same one. I mean, the coloring is right and everything. But, and I don't know. And we just use the feed wagon in the feedlot. We don't feed our cows with a feed wagon.
Okay.
So it's just, but, the coyote population is alive and well too.
Well, that's what I was getting at, is a lot of the people that I know that run feed wagons, they say they carry a rifle in their tractor because they see more coyotes when they're out feeding cows, and they're not scared of the tractor and feed wagon nearly as much as if you're in a pickup or whatever else.
Well, and I don't know if Riley told you this or not, but he acquired a night vision scope, and so they've been going out, when it's not too bad at night, and they've been, plugging quite a few coyotes at night here. And it's just like, I don't know, it just seems like the more people hunt them, the more they bounce back. And what a resilient species. I can't believe it.
What a sustainable species here. I just got a text. It says, fox love to kill and eat skunk. Let the fox live. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as you well know, there's 4 generations on this place.
Yeah.
And we knew we had a skunk problem when you'd see the skunk meeting my dad, who's 89 years old, walking down from his house to feed the farm cats, and the skunk was right there with the farm
Oh,
cats.
jeez.
And then I said, well, why, we should just shoot it. Well, it isn't so bad. They're good mousers, And he said, she gets kind of snippy when I pour it in the bowl, and I just hit her with my cane, and she moves away.
Good grief. I can take a lot of smells in my life, but skunk is not one of them, man. I have no use for those things.
Yeah.
I don't care how good of mousers they are. No way, no how.
Well, I haven't seen one here lately, but maybe that fox did take care of things, hopefully.
Well, there you go. It's amazing. We're getting in close to the break here, and this is just kind of a prelude to what we're going to be talking about, and that's how farming, ranching, and wildlife go so well together if they're done correctly. And there's plenty of that we can discuss here, but the little conversations we have, we talked, elk, we talked about fox, coyotes, skunks. I mean, it's amazing how many animals, during a day that a person can see if a person's really looking. So Mark Schrieffer, hold on with me here. We're going to get to the break. We'll have more coming up, talking about farming, ranching, and conservation, how it works all well together. The epitome of what I wanted to start with this radio program 20 years ago. And it's nice that it's coming together. We'll be back with more on Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition right after these messages. There's a reason you're seeing more Red Angus cattle in the country. Great mama cows, high weaning weights, and easy keepers. With a family that bases their entire operation on faith, honesty, and trust. You can see those values in their 30-plus years in the Red Angus breed. Schrieffer Red Angus, the breed that generates a positive return on investment. SchrieferRedAngus.com.
Agriculture is a community of hard work, passion, optimism for the future, and a commitment to the livestock and land. For over 80 years, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been a leader in ag financing. Our local lending team knows the industry and the challenges, from droughts to winter blizzards. Stop by one of our branches today in your work boots or cowboy boots. You're always welcome.
Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
Equal housing lender.
Bowman Livestock Marketing, serving the tri-state area for all of your livestock marketing needs. Eastern Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota. You can be sure of great care for your cattle and top price at sale time. Call Austin Snook at 307-290-2161. That's 307-290-2161 for more information or just to talk cattle markets. You can also find them on Facebook and go to their website, BowmanLivestockMarketing.com. The 31st annual Top Cut Bull Sale is Saturday, January 25th at the 21 Angus Ranch, New England, North Dakota, 1 p.m. sale time. Selling 170 Top Cut bulls featuring proven sires like Baldridge Flagstone, Ellingson Badlands, Musgrave Stunner, and Baldridge Pappy. Born and raised right at the ranch to give you well-mannered, extremely uniform, and deep-bodied genetics. No hoof trimming, no creep feed, and free wintering. For a catalog or to view sale videos, go to 21angus.com. Join the Wolf family for their 31st annual 21 Angus Ranch Top Cut Bull Sale, Saturday, January 25th at the ranch east of New England. Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty would like to invite you to their next round of auction sales coming up Tuesday, December 17th, the Gillespie Farms Partnership Farm Retirement Auction out of Fergus Falls, Minnesota, featuring over 100 items of top quality, well-cared-for farming equipment. On Wednesday, December 18th, 627 acres in Nelson County are for sale. And on Thursday, January 9th, 159 acres in McHenry County. For more information and to bid online, go to Pfeifers.com. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE Walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer. This portion of the program is brought to you by Freedom Repair. Whether it's a tractor, baler, your cutter, your combine, or air seeder, Freedom Repair comes to you and helps you get fixed up and back in the field. 19 plus years experience. Give Lucas Kelly a call at 701-440-1945. That's 701-440-1945. Freedom Repair, veteran owned and operated. Western Frontier Insurance, agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or talking animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered with price in mind. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, Wilton, Bowman, and Hettinger. The 31st annual Top Cut Bull Sale is Saturday, January 25th at the 21 Angus Ranch, New England, North Dakota, 1 p.m. sale time. Selling 170 Top Cut bulls featuring proven sires like Baldridge Flagstone, Ellingson Badlands, Musgrave Stunner, and Baldridge Pappy. Born and raised right at the ranch to give you well-mannered, extremely uniform, and deep-bodied genetics. No hoof trimming, no creep feed, and free wintering. For a catalog or to view sale videos, go to 21angus.com. Join the Wolf family for their 31st annual 21 Angus Ranch Top Cut Bull Sale, Saturday, January 25th at the ranch east of New England.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you'll stay around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition. Actually shaping up to be a pretty nice Saturday here around the ranch. Good to have you along here, Scott Bachmeyer along. With me is Mark Schriefer from Schriefer Red Angus sale. You're going to have a sale coming up in end of January too, aren't you there, Mark?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we've gone to an online only sale
Okay.
through the DV auction format, and I mean, we still have the preparation. We got to do videoing and all that stuff, and we did that all last Saturday, and we were blessed with such a great, beautiful day to do that. And we didn't clip the bulls this year. We're letting them go all natural, so to speak, and a lot less stress on them and us, needless to say. But yeah, the bidding opens up on January 20th and closes Saturday, the 25th of January.
Excellent.
So-
Well, good deal. Good deal. So, and we'll be looking forward to that here on DV Auction, what a format they have started and been using all across the nation on that too for a lot of bull sales. So, well, best of luck to you. So we're discussing farming, ranching, and conservation and wildlife. All right. We've already established that we see a lot of animals. They work with our cattle. They're around our cattle, except for the coyotes a little bit. But tell me a little bit about what have you guys implemented 4 generations on that place right now? What have you implemented that you see that has helped wildlife, and maybe you've run across some things you see that don't help wildlife that much either? What in the farming aspect of things, what have you seen?
Well, this is a natural progression of things, but, my grandpa came here in 1936, and it was already homesteaded, the place we're on now, but they lost it in the 30s.
Yeah.
But the neighboring place is where my grandmother grew up, my dad's mother. And when this place got foreclosed on, I guess my great grandpa sent a telegram out to Montana and said, "Hey, we know you've been working." He was hauling sugar beets. He was a freighter with a mule team, and had enough cash money to buy the place we're on now. And really what his conservation efforts were at that time, my grandpa's, was to plant trees. I mean, obviously in the 30s, there probably weren't very many natural trees right in our neighborhood.
Right.
Whether it be homestead, shelter belts, whether it be, the tree rows when people strip farm, but that was my grandpa's contribution. And then my dad came along, and he probably, took more to the farming side of things, and he implemented more tree rows and strip cropping, and those were the summer fallow days.
Yeah. That's
when
when you turned everything black and you had to have some type of protection of the wind.
Well, yeah, and absolutely. And at that time, to be honest with you, when I was growing up, a deer that walked across our land was a tourist. We did not have a viable deer population here. And in fact, we did not even have really good pheasant population. And then all of a sudden, CRP came along, and philosophically and economically, my dad just didn't believe in the CRP program. And you got to remember, I mean, we're ranching, and basically our crop base was for feed stuff,
Right.
and had a little bit of cash crop wheat, but not much. So he couldn't really afford to give up any land for CRP. And then it all tied into how we fall graze things. I mean, they talk about sustainable, using your acre sustainable. Well, I grew up that way, where you used every acre
Mhm.
that we had here, whether it would be fall grazing or whatever. And then when I came along, I guess my contribution, was we put in a different feedlot. I mean, we got the feedlot out of the creek down here in the yard, which, improved a lot of things. But we also, Jody and I, put in a lot of water pipeline, developed water in places that we never had water. And up in this country, water isn't that deep, but it's not that plentiful. I mean, if we get a well that's doing 5 gallons a minute, that's a pretty good well.
Okay.
But so we put in a lot of pipelines, and just to spread the grazing. And, as we were talking before the show, certain technologies now has allowed us to have winter grazing in spots that we haven't had. So, from a conservation side of things, we're conserving our time, our fuel. We're conserving hay. We're letting the cows graze. And as far as the wildlife population, I mean, we had a real flourishing whitetail population on the south side of our ranch until, EHD came along.
Oh,
And-
you did get hit with the EHD this year.
Not this year,
Oh,
This-
okay. That was previous time. Okay.
2 years ago or
Yeah.
what it was. And I mean, we have whitetail yet, but it's not like I really want to hunt them hard at this time. But our muley population is exploding, and I think part of that is because of the absence of the whitetails, But there too, I mean, people are getting smarter with their grazing plans. They're not grazing it down to the nub, and they're leaving residue out there that, we see more muleys laying in stubble fields up here because we've got stubble that's, 18 inches tall,
Yeah.
And it's just things you don't think about. And, I've had the privilege of being on our local soil conservation board for 20 years now. And we've, a lot of people try to tie the Soil Conservation District with NRCS as one entity, when in fact they're two totally separate entities. And, our county SED has really, really been progressive as far as trying to access other forms of funding to cost share, with these projects. And, rather than just relying on the EQIP programs and things like that.
Mhm.
And I'm in no way endorsing that, people, it's not a one size fits all. And, somebody might have a half mile of pipeline they want to put in, but, I don't know if you've done any pipelines or any conservation practices lately, but when it all comes down to it, I mean, when they hand you the slip of paper of what this thing's going to cost, there's some sticker shock
Yes,
involved.
there is. Yeah.
And there's private funds, there's public funds, and we have a really good district manager that has really tapped into a lot of these different programs that here in Mercer County we have 3, 4, 5 different ways to try to get a project cost shared. And from a countywide, I mean, we can do things on our ranch, but if our neighbors don't, is that going to help the whole wildlife population for the area? No. I mean, it's kind of if everybody's doing something, boy, the wildlife really respond to that.
Yeah.
And, CRP was a good example for that. When there were CRP all across the state of North Dakota, look at what wildlife, bloomed then.
That was like it originated, CRP started with taking highly erodible land out of production, because back in I remember back in the 80s when it was really pushed through, everybody was still farming, digging dirt, man. There was no till or minimum till, and a lot of that land was eroding, and it was a happy accident that it turned out so good for the wildlife, right? I mean, but now you're seeing the farming practices have changed. Like you said, they're leaving stubble now, and minimum till. They're not digging up the dirt nearly as much. So, I mean, the farming practices have definitely changed too.
Well, and, really, we had wildlife's always weather related as far as, their reproduction rate and everything like that. But if you don't have the habitat, they don't even have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And if you provide good habitat for them, at least they got a fighting chance that when conditions are right, that population's gonna benefit, and in turn benefit, whether it be the recreational side, whatever you want to do, recreation, just look at them or shoot them. I don't care. I mean, there's nothing better for me than I won't let people shoot the pheasants near our yard, because I love waking up in the morning, having my morning cup of coffee, look out that kitchen window and see, pheasant roosters walk across their yard in January. And that's just me, but
yeah,
everybody has a different reason for doing things. But, just for example, I looked it up.
Well, hold on there, Mark. We're up against our second break. So before you go into that second part of that, before you look up here, we'll carry that on to the second half of the program. Mark Schrieffer's my guest here on Dakota Prairie Outdoors. Good to have you along here today. We're talking farming, ranching, and conservation. And if you want to join in, 888-9-DAKOTA, or you can text 701-425-6651. Back after this. There's a reason you're seeing more Red Angus cattle in the country. Great mama cows, high weaning weights, and easy keepers. With a family that bases their entire operation on faith, honesty, and trust. You can see those values in their 30-plus years in the Red Angus breed. Schrieffer Red Angus, the breed that generates a positive return on investment. SchrieferRedAngus.com.
Agriculture is a community of hard work, passion, optimism for the future, and a commitment to the livestock and land. For over 80 years, Dakota Community Bank and Trust has been a leader in ag financing. Our local lending team knows the industry and the challenges, from droughts to winter blizzards. Stop by one of our branches today in your work boots or cowboy boots. You're always welcome.
Dakota Community Bank and Trust, that's what we do.
Equal housing lender.
Bowman Livestock Marketing, serving the tri-state area for all of your livestock marketing needs. Eastern Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota. You can be sure of great care for your cattle and top price at sale time. Call Austin Snook at 307-290-2161. That's 307-290-2161 for more information or just to talk cattle markets. You can also find them on Facebook and go to their website, BowmanLivestockMarketing.com. The 31st annual Top Cut Bull Sale is Saturday, January 25th at the 21 Angus Ranch, New England, North Dakota, 1 p.m. sale time. Selling 170 Top Cut bulls featuring proven sires like Baldridge Flagstone, Ellingson Badlands, Musgrave Stunner, and Baldridge Pappy. Born and raised right at the ranch to give you well-mannered, extremely uniform, and deep-bodied genetics. No hoof trimming, no creep feed, and free wintering. For a catalog or to view sale videos, go to 21angus.com. Join the Wolf family for their 31st annual 21 Angus Ranch Top Cut Bull Sale, Saturday, January 25th at the ranch east of New England. Pfeiffer's Auction and Realty would like to invite you to their next round of auction sales coming up Tuesday, December 17th, the Gillespie Farms Partnership Farm Retirement Auction out of Fergus Falls, Minnesota, featuring over 100 items of top quality, well-cared-for farming equipment. On Wednesday, December 18th, 627 acres in Nelson County are for sale. And on Thursday, January 9th, 159 acres in McHenry County. For more information and to bid online, go to Pfeifers.com. MoPro Guide Service, the best on Lake Oahe. Brent and his staff will give you the most enjoyable fishing experience, always having the latest in electronics, gear, and the most comfortable Lund boat on the water. Fish with somebody who lives in Mobridge, South Dakota, the heart of Lake Oahe. If you need a place to stay, the Morest Motel has newly updated rooms with free internet, a family-owned and operated business. Go to OaheWalleyes.com. That's OAHE walleyes.com for the best fishing experience Lake Oahe has to offer. This portion of the program is brought to you by Freedom Repair. Whether it's a tractor, baler, your cutter, your combine, or air seeder, Freedom Repair comes to you and helps you get fixed up and back in the field. 19 plus years experience. Give Lucas Kelly a call at 701-440-1945. That's 701-440-1945. Freedom Repair, veteran owned and operated. Western Frontier Insurance, agents that understand you, your needs, and the community. Whether you're looking for coverage on your farm, ranch, home, or auto, you can trust that Western Frontier Insurance will find you a combination of price and coverage that works for you. No fancy jingles, no talking boxes or talking animals, just good neighbors helping to keep you covered with price in mind. Western Frontier Insurance. Offices in Hazen, Washburn, Wilton, Bowman, and Hettinger. The 31st annual Top Cut Bull Sale is Saturday, January 25th at the 21 Angus Ranch, New England, North Dakota, 1 p.m. sale time. Selling 170 Top Cut bulls featuring proven sires like Baldridge Flagstone, Ellingson Badlands, Musgrave Stunner, and Baldridge Pappy. Born and raised right at the ranch to give you well-mannered, extremely uniform, and deep-bodied genetics. No hoof trimming, no creep feed, and free wintering. For a catalog or to view sale videos, go to 21angus.com. Join the Wolf family for their 31st annual 21 Angus Ranch Top Cut Bull Sale, Saturday, January 25th at the ranch east of New England.
On that road, but don't you worry, one day I'll settle down. And when that time comes, I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around. I hope you're still around.
Welcome back, everybody. Dakota Prairie Outdoors Saturday edition continues on a beautiful Saturday. Hopefully your Saturday morning is looking as good as mine looks out the window this morning too. Mark Schreifer from Schreifer Red Angus is my guest here today, talking farming, ranching, conservation, wildlife. And I had to cut you off on your last one. You're sitting at your table drinking coffee, looking at pheasant, and you said, I forgot where you're going to go with it. I hope you remember where you're going to go with it, because we had a 5-minute conversation about something else here.
Well, I was going to say that I looked it up, and you know, at its peak, and this was 15 years ago, North Dakota had 3.4 million acres of CRP.
Yeah.
And now we're down to like 1 million, give or take. And, you know, whether or not you believe in the philosophy of CRP or not, like you said, it was a happy accident for wildlife. And I mean, gosh, you know, I remember those days. I mean, it wasn't pheasant hunting, it was pheasant shooting. And, you know, same with deer. I mean, if you didn't fill your tag within 3 days, I mean, you were really, let's just say that. So, you know, I think it's up to us to try to fill the gaps on, you know, I don't honestly know with the budget constraints and with the fiscal condition of our country if we'll ever see CRP back to its glory days again. And so we have to do things as private landowners if we want to maintain. I mean, some of you guys might not care about wildlife. That's your business. That's your private property rights. You know, on our place, we figure that if we have a flourishing wildlife population, we're doing something right.
Well,
You
if you have the wildlife, your cows are going to be happy because you got grass too. And here, you know, and some of the things we got to remind people too when they're listening, say they're listening, I'm in a big social media upset here with somebody out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota here right now. So I know they're listening. Grazing helps the pastures. You need the animals to graze. You need them to walk on this ground. You can't just let, you know, like a lot of people say, well, why can't you just let the grass just go wild and go back to its old self and not run any cattle or nothing on it? It's actually, that hurts the grazing more, and the grass is more than using your cattle to kind of rotate the right way. And a lot of folks don't understand that, Mark.
Well, exactly. And let me digress. I mean, we talked about generational conservation practices, and I forgot to mention what Riley's doing. And Riley's actually going back to the ways of my grandpa. He's actually planting way more trees than I did in my lifetime. which is nice to see. And that basically is for wildlife habitat,
Mhm.
And natural windbreak. But, you talk about, our cows utilizing, God's gift of grass to us on these hilltops and hillsides and valleys and whatever. I mean, a perfect example for that was back in the day when CRP was. And if you walked into a CRP plot that had never been cut for hay, never had been done, really, was there a lot of birds in there? There might have been deer, but not a lot of birds
Mhm.
because, and if you look down at your feet while you were walking, the species population in that CRP wasn't that diverse.
No.
Funny, like, then it came out, well, every 5 years you could cut it for hay or during a drought or whatever. And it's funny, like when the rains came back, how diverse that, plant population got. And there's so much that goes on that's beyond even our recognition. I mean, it starts with the soil biology, the bugs that are on top of the dirt, the birds and the little creatures that are eating them. And it's just a big circle. And I think producers today are taking a more of a big picture approach rather than just like, oh my God, there's a pigeon grass growing out in that summerfella field. We got to work the whole quarter, kind of deal. And that, I think farming practices have gotten, because things are just so darn expensive to do anymore, that we've gotten really efficient and conservative with what we're doing. And on the cattle side of things too, if we're going to put a fence up, you know what a mile of fence costs.
Oh, good.
We're going to put in
I guarantee a mile of fence in my country is a lot more than your mile.
Yeah, if you did a linear mile at your place, my gosh, how many rolls of wire would that take to get?
You can't even find people to do it around here. It's they're going to more of a easier ground, and it's tough to find anybody with a fencing crew that wants to go into Badlands.
So what have you read on this virtual fencing? I mean, we just had a discussion this last week on it.
So the virtual fencing, this came a couple of years ago when I started seeing a little bit of this and some presentations. And just to explain to what people what this is, it is a collar that you put on cattle. It's basically the same thing you do with your dog. A virtual fence, a virtual area, and if they get too close to it, it'll start beeping. If they get, you can set your borders, and it'll start beeping, and then it'll lightly shock. And if they get too close to the border, it'll shock them and keep them from going over there. And the battery life, the expense of it, I think it's way too outrageous for producers like my size. But I also look at it, Mark, as a way to make, if it makes poor fencers even worse fencers. And and I was always brought up, good fences make good neighbors. And,
exactly.
And I'm torn on that. I love new technology, but I don't know how well that would work. Is the service good enough in the Badlands? Is it good enough in the middle of Golden Valley? I don't know if I got some neighbors to the south of me that are doing it, and south of the Highway 12 down closer to the South Dakota border. It'll be interesting next year when they come back for our annual grazing meeting to see how that worked. It's going to be interesting, but you got to be able to get those cattle rounded up, make sure you can put those collars on and take them off or switch batteries if they're not working. But I don't think it's the cure-all for not checking your fence, which is what I'd be scared of.
Right. I mean, for me, actually, and not that our bulls are fence crawlers by any means, but putting it on your bulls just to make sure they stay where they're supposed to stay, rather than, that could be an application, but that's another topic for another day.
It is. Well, let's go back to some of these water projects you were discussing, how the importance of water for not only cattle, but the wildlife. And the one thing on this ranch here that my father-in-law's father and father-in-law before him, they put a lot of work in with wells, artesian wells, whether it's that or regular pumping wells, spring well water. We have no reliance on dams or dugouts on this entire place, which is awesome. And good water makes for good, healthy cattle. but it also
Oh, I-
makes for a good, healthy wildlife because I have had to. It's a little bit of a challenge when you get this many elk sometimes, and we have a lot of cow elk that like to winter in our area. And there, if you don't have the right tops on some of these water tanks, they love to step in them and create some holes in there. So we've had some issues there. So I've designed some different ways of going around and making some barriers around these water tanks. And then you got to worry too. Well, can a bull elk get his head in there too? Because I had one get his head stuck and he ripped a lot of stuff apart by doing that. So you kind of have to have one area that's, but you see deer, elk, you got coyotes, all kinds of animals that go in and get watered in there. And which is kind of nice. I mean, but if you have good water, I think the wildlife is beneficial to that too.
Well, and that's, I guess that's kind of the approach that I'm taking here, and guiding Riley to take is with our local soil conservation district, because what works in Murphy County probably won't work in Bowman Slope County.
Right, exactly.
And we know what's going on here, and I mean, we don't have an elk. I mean, yeah, someday maybe I would like a couple elk, but I know how that goes, Careful what you wish. Right? But anyway, I mean, we put in a solar well, or Riley did, on some property that he bought just a mile and a half northwest of the homestead here. And, this year I went up to check that, and here there were 5 muley bucks drinking from that tank,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, if that wasn't there, they'd be totally dependent on, and like on our ranch, we don't have a spring-fed creek, so to speak, that runs year-round. I mean, our creeks are all surface water that run in the spring or after a heavy rainfall event.
Sure.
So we have to develop water, and whether it be wells or pipelines, I mean, that just has made a game changer for us on this place.
Yeah. I got a couple text messages, Mark, let's get to, okay?
Yep.
It says a funny thing is about CRP is I know producers that absolutely despise the program, yet they relied upon it for feed. They grew their herd relying on it. Now it's disappeared in our area of Bottineau, Renville counties. They're definitely missing it. He says the disappearance of CRP has caused a sharp-tail population drop significantly. Grass goes, Sharpies don't, seems like. So that, that's interesting. So CRP, is it ever going to be back in its heyday like it was in the 80s? Probably not. And the reason I say this is there's more money to be made by farming it or leasing it out to be farmed than what the CRP payments are. And,
well, yeah.
Are the CRP payments going to get to that point? I know this one person, we got a quarter of it south of here that he doesn't live in state or anything. He just makes money off of it. So he doesn't utilize it for a whole lot. But I know if he wanted to reinstate it, he had to put it back into he had to till it up and put it into different grasses, like 3 different grasses for the contract. And then I also heard some stories like you got to watch the fine print on some of these contracts too. So I'm curious that, if you can make more money farming it, I think people are looking at that going, well, I as expensive as things are now, Mark, you got to make money somehow. And if the CRP payment isn't there, maybe it's,
and I would
start seeing it go to farm ground.
And what I actually read this morning in a national farm publication in like Kentucky, there's a young producer in there that can't get acres acquired. So now he's actually renting what was considered marginal cropland down there that wasn't CRP because he can justify matching or exceeding what the CRP rental rate is,
Yeah.
And, if you there's a reason why some of this land was in CRP. I mean, there's land that it should have never seen the plow, put it, a long story short. But in that sense too, like going back to what we said about, no-till farming and the part about no-till farming is I don't like the use of chemicals at the rate that we have to do. But in a sense, I'm giving up that distaste for that, for the general soil health, general wildlife health, and my gosh, just the water conservation on our cropland by no-till farming, we are able to save so much fuel, save so much, other inputs that it more than justifies that distaste for, Roundup. Let's just
Yeah.
call it
Yeah.
spade, But, we also have to be really, really judicious in how we use it. Otherwise, it won't be effective anymore and we'll lose it,
Exactly. Yeah, you
And-
can't overdo it, and then it's just gonna see a lot of these weeds and grasses find an immunization to it, right? I mean,
Well, that's the one thing nice about farming where we do. I mean, we're ranchers that farm. Cattle is our priority. We have no problem combining wheat with the baler if we have to in a drought. But that being said, we do farm enough to know what the farm economy is, and it's just and we raise a diversity of crops, and that's the whole thing. You have to diverse, and that goes back to this grazing too. Don't start on that same pasture every year. Give it a rest. Start someplace else, and pretty soon the grass will take care of you. Grass will take care of the wildlife, and with this holistic concept, and I'm not part of any holistic organization. It's just practice what we do here, and we've always done it. So when they come up with these new words of holistic and sustainable and all these other new catchphrases, it's just like, we've always been doing it that way,
Yeah.
because we had to survive. I mean, Grandpa and Dad's philosophy wasn't how much money you made for profitability; it was how much you didn't spend.
right.
So-
Yeah, it's amazing how it goes together, but when it's done right, by golly, it works nice for everybody, doesn't it?
Exactly, and reiterating again, I mean, go visit with your local soil conservation district. There might be a program in there that will just be, they'll look at you and go, well, when do you want to start? And you'll just kind of like, what do you mean? Well, we can get this whipped up in 2 weeks, send it to Bismarck for approval for something. It doesn't have to go through the federal channels of backlog and desk paper shuffling and whatnot. And, of course, a lot of these practices, even though we approve them on a local level, they are done to federal specs, meaning that's your baseline on how to do things. I mean, we want it to be done right. And a lot of people are surprised how fast you can actually get a project, boots on the ground conservation, I guess, is what I'm talking about.
Well, we only got a couple minutes left here. I want to touch on some of the tree talk that we were talking about. A lot of people are saying, well, the people farming big farms are taking out all these tree rows when they strip farm back in the day. And, I look at that and they say, wow, it's like we're just losing all that cover but there's still some good deer hunting, even though there might not be those old tree rows. And some of the tree rows, like you look around my yard, look around on this old tree row here, it's dying. It's reached its limit of life. And sometimes you just have to take them all out and start over sometimes. But there's different ways of going by that. And there's programs out there. Not everybody just has to go and buy the trees. There's actually programs to put windbreaks and tree rows out there, right? I mean, isn't there, Mark?
Well, exactly. I think one thing that we've really tapped into is the Outdoor Heritage Fund, which is a program, North Dakota funded, through, oil tax revenue, and they basically got $40 million in a biennium. So that's basically $20 million a year. And they will cost share 75% of what that tree planting costs. That's substantial. That all of a sudden makes a project that, gosh, we get by without it. Why would I spend the money? And really, if you're at a certain age, you're planting trees for the grandkids, you are.
Mm-hmm.
And but all of a sudden, you can make a $4,000 project cost you $1,000. That's workable, and everybody benefits that for years and years. I mean, we're benefiting from my grandfather's tree plantings now.
Yeah.
You said they're dying, but there is ways to replace them.
Yeah.
And, so.
And that's the thing too. You have to probably work in your plan if you're looking at putting a food or a tree row in. Plan for the future that eventually they will start dying, and you need room maybe to put another row behind it or in front of it, and to keep that going on and on and on. So, but yeah, it's interesting. Farming, ranching, and wildlife, and why it works so well together when it's done right. Thank you, Mark, for making time on a beautiful Saturday morning here. And
Yeah.
So the big question is now, if I go out and I find an elk and I get one down, are you going to come down and help me hike it out of these deep canyons?
Well, it's supposed to be a beautiful day, and all the other help is gone for the day. It's just me and Jody, so we can go do whatever we want to do.
There you go. Yeah, get the feeding done, and let's go. Let's get that done. Well, I appreciate it. So if both North and South Dakota, they have NRCS programs, they have soil conservation districts. Just on bottom line, if you have any questions, comments, give them a call. Right? I mean, they're there to help you out.
Exactly. And remember, those soil conservation districts are supervised by local producers and local people. And we know what's going on. We know what the needs are, hopefully the districts can find something that will fit your operation.
Mark Schrieffer, Red Angus, thank you so much. And the biggest thing is farmers and ranchers are the best conservationists on a daily basis that you'll ever find. Thank you for coming on the program. Everybody else, you can find my daily program in all these radio stations. Thanks for tuning in. Eat some meat, drink some milk, wear wool and fur, and just enjoy a beautiful weekend in Dakota Prairie Outdoors. All right, stations, thank you. Mark, thank you again. Appreciate it. We're still live on YouTube, by the way. So
okay. So, well, I hope that went well.
It did. Yeah. I like having conversations like this because, it's people don't understand what the farmers and ranchers do. We don't say anything about it.
Right.
We don't say it. We don't, you got the whatever Whitetail Federation or Turkey Federation, and they're like, oh, look how much we do for conservation. Look this is what we do. It's all about conservation. And, I look at some of the projects that they've done and I'm like, well, yeah, kinda, I don't know. I don't know how some of the projects I don't understand, but we do it on a daily basis and nobody gives us credit.
Well, I think the key thing is you get into so many of these organizations and they got their agenda, and that's why they're an organization. Where we as farmers, ranchers, or farmers, however you want to put it, our agenda is to produce food. And if we can produce food and benefit our communities, our societies, I mean, there are very few. You have to actually look for, even the big guys that farm and ranch. They're, for the most part, community minded. I mean, we're to the point now. I mean, there was a time when certain guys didn't want neighbors because they wanted that land. Well, now we're getting to the point where, gosh dang it, guys, how thin can we get out here? I mean, I like neighbors. I like having neighbors. So
I got a couple of texts. It says Game Fish and Parks in South Dakota do a cost share also, straight from their Game and Fish. And then Montana number says, hey, great show today. So there you go.
Well, sometime along the line, I mean, if you need dead airspace, something to talk about. I realize plots has its spot, but for our operation, I don't like plots because it's just an open invitation for people to just walk in and you never know who's there.
Here's the thing here's my concern. So plots, I think it started out great, but I think it's almost like this Measure 4. Does property tax need reform? Absolutely, we need reform, but let's try to go into it with a different way of looking at it, right? So the plots land program, I personally think it's a decent program, but they need to have some type of management on how many people can hunt that property or utilize that property for whatever they're using it for. Because my neighbor has his into plots, And in deer season, it was just an orange pumpkin patch of, 20 some people all over the place hunting on top of each other. I don't think
Yeah.
I personally don't think that's a great way of managing when,
No.
the 5 deer that they chased out got killed and there's 0 deer there now. And
Well, yeah, you're actually in a place that has public land proper,
yeah,
public land. I mean, what do you think it's like up here at opening pheasant season? It's just like,
yeah,
Fox is like, oh, there's one party in that corner. If there's access to every corner, there's a different hunting party at every corner.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think they should have parking areas and they should do like the block management in Montana, kind of base it off of that a little bit where you sign in. So,
Right.
so if I were to come up to a piece of plots land up by Shriefer Red Angus, and I went to that parking spot and I looked, I'm like, oh, there's 6 people in here. I'm not going to ruin their hunt.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think they need to kind of come up with something along that line because it's kind of dangerous having people hunting over the top of people. So, and it's also
But
dangerous because people are parking on my driveway and
yeah,
over the top of the hills, and they're not parking off of, there's nowhere to park. So
right.
I think I
I
think it
actually
needs a
got,
little adjustment is what I think.
going to that Montana block unit hunting. Chassie and Bill actually live right off of the Milligan Canyon, road exit, halfway between Bozeman and Butte. And if you follow that Milligan Canyon road to the west and northwest, you go underneath the interstate through a 12-foot culvert. I'm not kidding you. And you go right into a block hunting unit, and they have the little parking spots and a little sign there, and you're free to hike, but
Yep.
like if somebody parked there, they're hunting, and then you just, I'm not going to ruin their hunt,
Yep.
So
I would love that. And I think like in South Dakota, I know they did that on their public land, walk-in land. They have a different name for theirs. It's not plots, but it's same concept. And they had a parking area, and that was part of the funds. When you signed up, they would make this little bump out parking area, and I loved hunting it back then. But now, it's pretty rare that I'll go to a plots land, maybe to calling coyotes, maybe, maybe doing something on that line, but it's pretty rare anymore. They just get deer hunted. They just get hunted so heavily, and
well, it's kind of like if you want to plant trees on the plots because it's still your land. There's actually like 2 or 3 different programs that kick in, and you basically can get 100% cost share. You can plant trees on the plots land for nothing.
Here's the hard thing, though, on some of these programs that whether it's Game Fish or any organization is doing,
right?
If I see, mutual partners from World Wildlife Fund or the Audubon Society, or I don't trust it. Those are anti-hunting, anti-ag groups, and you see a lot of those people, they're giving money for these programs, and I don't want to be tied to them that way at all.
No, for me, I don't do any of that because I don't want them to get their foot in the door.
Exactly.
And that's exactly what it's doing. And next thing you know, like you said before about some of those federal contracts, and you have the naysayers that are going to say this and that, but yeah, make sure you read the fine print because it's, it can be there and it can bite you in the butt if you're not.
Damn right it can. The Mayor Mobridge says you would think it'd be common courtesy. You would let somebody know if there's others already in there, not to stomp through the area that they're already hunting, but oftentimes that's not the case. And it is, I mean, I'll tell you this right now, on this plots land that is around us, they don't care who's in it. They drive to the opposite corner and they start hunting that corner, and it's a mess here. Oh, I got a video here. Somebody got a bighorn sheep down.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, very cool. Very nice. 3/4 curl on it.
Oh, hey,
yeah.
To me, that's the best wild game I've ever eaten was bighorn sheep.
I have never done it yet. I've never tried it. Never had the opportunity.
But I'm also the guy that never grew up with sheep at all. And I asked my grandpa why we never had sheep, and he said we had them in Germany, and that's close enough. But I worked at the sheep barn at NDSU just so I'd have the experience. And to this day, like when we go out to Cassie's and if we stop at a certain restaurant in Billings, they have lamb on the menu.
Mhm.
I'll eat every time it's on the menu.
So I
Just
see.
'cause I don't-
My wife loves lamb. She loves it. Why don't you ever see anything beyond lamb on the menu? I don't know anything about sheep, so I don't know what happens
Well-
after. Are they only good if they're lambs? After that, they don't taste worth a damn, or what's the deal?
yeah. Mutton is older sheep, and that's why my grandpa actually, because I said my dad's mother grew up a mile east of here. That was a homestead. And when grandpa and her got married, my grandpa was an immigrant from Germany, and they made sausage out of old sheep, and he could not. It's the tallow. The tallow on older sheep has a really strong taste, and you just
Okay.
can't get rid of it. And it lines your mouth, and it's like, best example I can say is like back in your younger days when you drank too much beer or whiskey and you smoked a cigar at night. In the morning when you woke up, you didn't taste the whiskey, you tasted that cigar, didn't you? And eating mutton is the same way. You taste it back in the morning. So
Well, none of that sounds good.
no, and it's not.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I gotta run here.
Yep, me
so-
too. I better get feeding cows.
Well, you have a Merry Christmas, Scott.
You too. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll catch you later.
Yep. Bye.
All right. See ya. All right, YouTubers. Excuse me. My voice is cracking like I'm going through puberty again. Ugh. Real Chislick is mutton. No, thank you. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate that. Appreciate you guys tuning in today here each and every week. And for those of you that watch it as a rerun, thank you for that too. Appreciate it. Have yourself a good weekend. If you're available and around the Dickinson area tonight, the Bijou Activity Center at DSU is the place to be. Extremely lucky this fall. I drew the bighorn sheep in the Collegiate Peaks Wilderness in Colorado. It was everything. Wow. I'll show this picture here. What a cool animal. Yeah. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. All right. Well, y'all have a good one. We'll see. When is Christmas? Oh, I don't get any weekend. I'll be here every damn weekend. We'll catch you next weekend. See ya.